This topic is very difficult to be completely loving on, but I will try my best. Mainstream black culture has a lot of problems that encourage ungodly behavior. To illustrate my point, let's first take a closer look at rap music, which is a staple of black culture. Rap glorifies violence and murder. I'll smoke that N-word if you test me. I'ma bust the cap in your ass. Rap is undoubtedly narcissistic and boastful. I'm a god. I'm God's gift to the earth. I'm the greatest rapper ever. It's misogynistic, calling women bitches, calling women hoes, ordering women around. It's lustful in a boastful way, bragging about how many bitches S your D and how all the bitches want to smash you. It encourages infidelity, bragging about effing other guys' girls. It's also materialistic, bragging about clothes, cars, jewelry, houses, etc. It's status-driven, bragging about how famous you are, how you're a cultural trendsetter. It's obsessed with money, boasting about how big your bank account is, flashing stacks. It glorifies dangerous drug use, like popping pills, Xanax bars, lean, crack. It's obsessed with putting other people down, dissing other rappers in insulting ways with rap beefs that glorify insults and conflict. It's really anti-white, making fun of white people, referring to them as white trash, Karens, demonizing white people, has this word that everyone can say except white people. There's also some popular rappers who worship Satan or have satanic themes in their music, like Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Nas X, 3 6 Mafia, Doja Cat, and Playboi Carti. A lot of rappers do talk about God and how they are chosen by God, but how does rap's morality stack up with biblical morality? The Bible says that love is kind and that love does not dishonor others. It's clear that mainstream rap can be very unkind and celebrates dishonoring others. The Bible also says that love does not boast and love does not have pride. The Bible says that love is not self-seeking. The Bible says that love does not delight in evil, like killing someone because they're in a rival gang or causing women to cheat. The Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. The Bible tells us to honor women. 1 Timothy 5:2, treat older women as mothers and younger women as sisters with absolute purity. The Bible teaches us not to lust. 1 John 2:16, for everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The Bible tells us not to focus on our outward selves. In Matthew 23:25-26, Jesus says to the Pharisees, hypocrites, you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside also will be clean. The Bible also tells us that our body is a temple. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, and to be alert and of sober mind. 1 Peter 5:8. Besides mainstream rap being ungodly, the mainstream black culture is unfortunately contributing to bad outcomes for America. Blacks, who make up 13% of the population, are causing 50% of the violent crime. The homicide rate for blacks, 7.8 per 100,000 people per year, is over 4 times greater than the rate for whites, which is 1.8 per 100,000 people per year. A lot of you might be thinking that the only reason for this is because blacks are more likely to have a lower socioeconomic status because of white people discriminating against blacks. And if you compare the poor black homicide rate to the poor white homicide rate, then it would be about equal. But this is not the case. The homicide rate for poor blacks is 25 per 100,000, while the rate for poor whites is 10 per 100,000. That's still 2.5 times more when controlling for socioeconomic status. Keep in mind that to get this data, I had to be very specific in how I asked Gab AI. I had to ask it about each race separately and the difference in homicide rates between affluent and poor groups in each race for it to give me the facts. This is very suppressed information that was hard for me to get even from Gab AI. And to be completely honest, I'm pretty disappointed in Gab AI because it's supposed to be like a red-pilled, like factual AI, but it's still pretty woke from my experience. We need to be objective about these realities because if we want to improve things, we need to be able to identify problems like these. Even though poor blacks are more violent than poor whites, white people still get blamed for blacks being poor in the first place. Why is it white people's fault that blacks tend to be more poor? Segregation ended 61 years ago, and blacks are receiving more help from the government per capita than any other racial group in the United States. On average, 45% of whites with a lower socioeconomic status receive welfare assistance from programs like SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, and housing assistance, while 65% of poor blacks receive the same services. Also, because of DEI and affirmative action, which are government-backed policies, blacks get jobs more easily, are spotted points on test scores to qualify for jobs, get more college scholarships, get more acceptance into colleges, receive financial support in their entrepreneurial ventures, etc. DEI and affirmative action is the opposite of a meritocracy because it gives unearned advantages to people based on their race alone. And it has tangible consequences for our country. It means that there's a lot more doctors, mechanics, teachers, and other essential professionals who are unqualified coming up short with what is really important work to get right. Most corporate jobs require you to take DEI classes to keep your job, and if a white person exercises their freedom of speech by protesting these anti-meritocratic policies, they lose their job and reputation, and to be completely honest, in many cases, they risk their safety. I might even be risking my safety by making this video. Also, blacks get so much benefit from their race-based special interest groups like the NAACP, which is one of many. Taxpayers pay the government to support these groups through targeted federal grants, business development programs, targeted marketing campaigns, etc. The overall amount of financial, governmental, corporate, academic, community, and cultural support that blacks receive in America is honestly a force to be reckoned with. What about the white special interest groups? The truth is that there is none, because any group that advocates for white people specifically is labeled as a hate/white supremacist group. Not only do they not get any of the kinds of support that black groups get, but their organizations get attacked severely. I'm talking smear campaigns, censorship, deplatforming, bans from speaking venues, bans from online baking services, website hosting services, death threats, violence, and sometimes even murder. The experience that blacks get who advocate for their own race is literally the opposite of what whites experience. Plus, what about all of the culturally embraced anti-white terms? So much of our language in America is designed to put white people down. I'm quickly going to read one of my old Facebook posts that sums this up well. Racist means oppressive white person. Cultural appropriation means white people stealing culture. Person of color means everyone who's not white, and all are oppressed by whites. Minority also means everyone who's not white, and all are oppressed by whites, even though they are actually majorities worldwide. Diversity means fewer white people. Karen means oppressive, annoying white woman. White fragility means when white people act like crybabies in reaction to anti-white racism. White privilege means the advantages that all white people get in every context just because they're white. All of these are constantly used in the mainstream, and all are demonizing of white people. What are the culturally embraced terms that are used to demonize the other races? Also, the entire philosophy of critical race theory, which is taught at universities, is based on the idea that white people are inherently more racist. Not to mention other courses offered like white racism and critical whiteness studies. The amount of concrete measures taken by our country to hurt white people is also a force to be reckoned with. Whites are the only race who are attacked for having racial pride. Also, white people are the only race that aren't allowed to preserve their white homelands. Imagine how repulsed the world would be if a massive amount of white people started illegally immigrating to Kenya, quickly displacing the native Kenyan population until the country became minority black. That's the same thing that's happening to, if I'm not mistaken, every white country. Every race is encouraged to protect their own homelands, their heritage, and their culture except for whites. When the ongoing displacement of white people in their homelands happens, it's framed as a victory for diversity or a positive trend of inclusion. But what if the whites did the same thing to non-white homelands? I can't even imagine how horrified the world would be at that. This is all, of course, by design, because the cabal that I keep talking about, they want to eliminate white culture because people who live according to white culture are the hardest type of people to control. Whites are a minority race in the world. We are outnumbered by Asians, outnumbered by blacks, and outnumbered by Hispanics. White people are special too. We literally invented Western civilization, which is the basis for the best governed countries in the world. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm proud to be white. Of course I am. Everyone has a right to be proud of their race. There's a lot of great things about the white race, but we do have a serious problem. Most of us refuse to embrace our racial identity. The most anti-white people are woke white people, and I can guarantee that these kinds of white people are going to attack me the most for this video. It's a really sad thing. Anyways, most white people, including me, want black people to succeed. It's not like there's this overarching agenda among whites to keep the black person down. It's not what we spend our time thinking about or doing. Look at how many white people genuinely wanted a black president to win and did elect a black president. Obama's share of the white vote in 2008 was the highest for any Democratic presidential candidate since 1976. Okay, so one big aspect of black culture is the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a very misleading movement. It only focuses on white officers killing black suspects and criminals, which is a small, incomplete picture of the entire criminal relationship between blacks and whites. Because there is so much more crime happening in the black areas, police have to deal with blacks more than the other races. And since 71% of police officers are white, there is bound to be conflicting interactions between white officers and black suspects and criminals. Yes, some of the time blacks unfairly get killed by white officers in these conflicts, but what about the whole picture? Do whites kill blacks more in total, or do blacks kill whites more? This is the only figure that really matters because it takes all American whites and all American blacks into account. Each year, 500 to 600 whites are killed by blacks, and 200 to 250 blacks are killed by whites. Over twice the amount of whites are dying at the hands of blacks than blacks are dying at the hands of whites. But that's not even the whole story, because since blacks make up a minority of the population, the rate that they kill whites is way greater than the rate that whites kill blacks. The rate that blacks in America kill whites is 9 times greater than the rate that whites kill blacks. So yes, even though some of these deaths of black suspects and criminals at the hands of white officers are tragedy, the overall trend is that blacks target and kill whites at 9 times the rate that whites kill blacks. Blacks kill whites more, period. The slogan "White Lives Matter" honestly makes a lot more sense to me. I do believe that there's something intrinsic about black people on average, and I do want to emphasize on average, that makes them more violent than non-blacks. This is driven in part because blacks have lower IQs on average than non-blacks, and their testosterone is higher and hits earlier. These two factors do unfortunately lead to violent outcomes, in my opinion. Ask any bouncer which race starts a bar fight most often and which race tends to exert their violence to the greatest extent. There also has definitely been some conspiracies pushed by non-blacks that were weaponized against blacks to exacerbate these tendencies. I'm referring to the CIA intentionally planting cocaine into black communities, as well as most likely Jewish record executives artificially propping up and subsidizing the gangster rap movement. And to be honest, there is a lot of truth to the concept of white privilege. Because America is a historically white country, and because whites have done a lot of good things for themselves and their families, there are definitely a lot of white people who get to start off their lives in a much better position than the average black person does. I'm not denying that. And in some ways, it can be difficult to be part of a minority culture that is less prominent than the majority culture who used to discriminate against your ancestors. I'm not denying that either. But it is very, very rare for African Americans to move back to Africa because they have it so much better here than they do in their continent. Anyways, here's some more facts about BLM. They openly endorsed Jussie Smollett after everything that happened with him. Patrisse Cullors, the founder of Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, spent $3 million of donors' funds on real estate transactions, including a $1.4 million luxury home for herself in an upscale white area. Also, the victims' families of these high-profile police brutality cases says that the organization isn't even giving them financial support. What a ridiculous and, in my opinion, evil organization, funded by another Jew, George Soros. Me personally, out of all the bad experiences I have with strangers, I'm sorry to say that it tends to be a black person more than any other race. I was on my walk, walking through a casino, and this black guy just lunged at me for no reason when I was walking past, like he was about to punch me. I could tell that he was doing it to scare me. I remember Ubering this woke-looking black girl once, and she was intentionally rude to me the entire ride, right from the moment she got in my car, ordering me around, saying to me when I got to her destination, "You're in the wrong place. What are you doing? You have to go to the other side of the building." Talking to me like I was some low-class citizen, even though I was nice to her the whole time. I always try to smile and show my respect to every stranger I see, and it's black people who scoff at me or don't smile back at me the most. I'm sorry to say it, but this is my experience. I don't have anything against blacks as individuals. I have black friends, black family, and I would totally marry a black person if it was a good fit, just as much as I would marry someone from any other race. Kid Cudi is still my favorite musician. One of his lyrics is my Facebook bio. I just think that these are real differences between racial groups that hurt us as a society if we turn a blind eye to them. I appreciate you guys hearing me out on this, and I want everyone who watched this video to check out another eye-opening banned video by Jared Taylor called Art is a Weapon. If you watch this video and aren't at least a little bit disturbed by the type of stuff it exposes, then I think it would be good for you to do some soul searching. I'll leave that video at the top of the description. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and let's see if we can do our best to have a loving and civil conversation in the comments.